not hearing Neil.
Me either. Hello, Neil. Can you hear me?
Not hearing you, Neil. Neil. Okay. I'm not hearing you. We are live, by the way, guys. So, guys, you're watching a work in progress live. We appreciate you being here. Trying to bring Neil's audio in. If not, well, we'll have his picture up for you. So.
Well, that also means that he's somehow muted himself on the Opal, and that won't work.
Neil, unmute your mic.
Might have to call him.
I'll mute him here. All right, Neil, can you hear me now? I can't hear you. Okay, I can't hear him, Greg, but he can hear me. Neil, unmute your mic on your end. His mic is not muted. Okay. All right, it says can't unmute your guest because they chose to mute themselves. Okay, he just dropped out. Guys, you're watching a work in progress, so bear with us, okay? 3 minutes to try to bring Neil in. If not, he'll just come in on the Opal, Greg. And I'll put his pick up, okay?
Yeah, I got to have audio on the Opal first.
Okay. All right, checking 1, 2. I've got good audio on me, so we'll just wait for him. Hang in there with us, guys. We'll get him one way. Either way, he's coming in. Whether he's on camera or not, you'll hear him and see his picture, so.
Woohoo.
Picture, right? Woohoo. Greg, say hey to everybody.
Hey, everybody.
All right. Let's add Neil to the stage. All right, Neil, can you hear me okay? Okay, I just can't hear him. I just can't hear you, Neil.
I don't have audio from him either.
All right, Greg doesn't have audio from you either.
We are close to close.
And we're getting ready to go live. Just go ahead and come back in on the Opal, and I'll cut your camera off. Don't worry about your camera.
Hello?
And
there he is. We got him. All right, we got him.
Do we?
Yeah, I had him. I could hear him, yeah. That's okay. Yeah,
Oh, hello, Neil.
The only way we can do it live, guys, is to do it live because of the way we're connected. Anyway, cool sausage for you. We'll be with you in about 30 seconds live on Armed American Radio's Monster Cast. Welcome in, guys. Please like and share the post.
And 30.
We are 30 seconds out, boys and girls. Let's do this.
I think I got him.
Okay, good deal.
This
is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends, because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Kahr Firearms Group studio at the Patriot Mobile Communication Center on the CZ Platinum microphone. Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's buckle down. It flies right by. It always does. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast is now underway on your Sunday for you to kick off your new week, the first week of March. Hard to believe it is already the first week of March, but I don't know. That means it's going to be midterms quick. We've got some Supreme Court stuff to talk about, Trump's speech, all kinds of fun stuff lined up for you today. Guys, we are back live on Rumble for you. You can watch us at rumble.com/Armed American Radio. Find us over on Rumble. We're back up over there for you. Yes. I think we had a typo over there, but no big deal. You can watch us on X. Greg, I'll let you tell people how to do that, but I'll tell everybody that you can watch us live on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Armed American Radio. I am Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom. You are in the Kahr Arms Studios on the CZ microphone here at the Patriot Mobile Command Center. Greg and Dallas, how you doing, man?
Not too bad. And another thing we're on the precipice of is another Friday the 13th month.
Is it? You mentioned that the other day. What was your formula for that? I was unaware of that. If there's what, and then what?
If the month starts on a Sunday, which is the 1st, then that month you will have a Friday the 13th.
Today is the 1st.
That's correct.
Well,
last month was the 1st on a Sunday as well,
so
and we had a Friday the 13th.
2 Friday the 13th. And that does make sense now that I think about it.
4 weeks straight.
Because the 1 day out for 14 days is taken on the weekend and that on the Sunday, and that gives us there you go, another Friday the 3rd. Hey, I just figured that out.
How about that?
All right. Guys, studio's looking good in here. We're ready to rock and roll. Greg, I told everybody, guys, you can watch us on facebook.com/Armed American Radio. Please do that. Follow us on all of our platforms, please. Greg, you take it away, and we'll get started with the great reporter Neil McCabe. Go for it.
Other places to watch the show are going to be YouTube. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. You can head over to X and watch us at AAR Mark. You can also head on over to armedamericanradio.org or .com. Hit that menu icon. Then select your watch live or listen live options. And lastly, if you'd like to join our live chat, all you have to do is download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Yeah, that'll work. And something else for you guys, if you like to listen to the program live, we got something fun for you going on at armedamericanradio.com. If you want to click and listen live over there, at any time during the day, you will hear the Salem Radio Network feed. All the great Salem shows will be airing throughout the day, 24/7 on Armed American Radio. And of course, when we're live, Armed American Radio will join that feed. So you don't have to turn the radio dial. It's all for you right there at armedamericanradio.com. Let's get cracking. Greg in Dallas, let's bring Neil McCabe in. Neil McCabe from Real America's Voice, our good friend. Neil, how are you, brother?
Hey, fantastic.
And getting better every day, right?
Getting better every day, and some hiccups on the video side.
That's okay.
But, I'll figure this out.
Yeah, and when
One day.
it's going to be fun, guys. You'll be able to watch Neil live. Ryan Petty will be in. You'll be able to watch him live in the roundtable today too. So Neil, I guess I'm going to start with you as our political analyst. We missed you last week when I was out in Phoenix. And that wasn't really a bad thing, simply because we now had the State of the Union in between. And a lot of people have different thoughts about, for example, I was talking with Paul Markle, student of the gun, on Friday. He said, why are we concerned that Donald Trump didn't mention the Second Amendment? And then I talked with other guests, and it's like, I'm really bummed out that Donald Trump didn't mention the Second Amendment. I want to get your take on this. I have a theory about it. But were you disappointed that he did not mention the Second Amendment? And let me couch it with this.
Well,
hold on one second. We have 2 cases, Neil, tomorrow that are being heard in conference.
Full of palace intrigue.
Tell us.
And you have different factions inside the administration, inside the White House, fighting to get their thing accomplished and to get their program name-checked by the president. I think the president's job was to give the Republicans a roadmap for victory, but also to give the Republicans some sort of hail and hearty news about the economy. And the White House is looking at internal polls showing that the base is ticked off. And should he have mentioned guns? Yes. Should he have been stronger on, say, maybe some life issues? Yes. But, he spoke for 2 hours and he said a lot of stuff. A lot of people wished he had said more about Iran because that had been in the news. And so I take your point, but, it's not like this administration is going soft on gun rights. In fact, this administration is in the process of dismantling ATF. So, and they're about to do the 925C program where felons can apply to have their gun rights restored. And so, that's a big deal. We'll see how that happens. I was involved in some of the planning of that. I was involved in some of the field testing of the website, the portal. It's going to be a big deal, Mark, because there's going to be 25. Let's say there's 25 million felons in this country. Maybe 1 million of them will get their gun rights back, and that's the Trump administration. So, if people are paying attention, they would say, "Wow, that's huge," because in the Gun Control Act of 1968, it said there will be an office that will help people get their gun rights back if they're a felon. And that was a dead letter. It was never done. Nobody lifted a finger, and Trump is lifting a finger. And so this program, somebody hearing it right now might say, wait, the federal government has a program to restore gun rights to felons? And you're thinking, wow, when did that law pass? That law passed in 1968. It's just nobody ever paid any attention to it. And perhaps the Trump administration and DOJ should do more to sort of let that word get out, because they're doing great things on guns. And sure, he should have mentioned in the State of the Union, but I can assure you the administration's doing great things on guns.
Well, when it comes to felons and guns, guys, this has been a topic we've talked about, Neil, together for years and years and years. A lot of people have different thoughts about that. There are varying degrees of felonies. We're not talking about violent felons. We're talking about nonviolent felons. We're talking, I think white-collar crime, Neil. Somebody ripped off something or $3,000 or embezzled some money. Should they lose their gun rights for the rest of their lives? I would absolutely argue no. If your sentence is done, your sentence is done. Now, I could use that same argument even if it came to a violent felony. If you've completed your sentence and it's done, should you lose your gun rights for the remainder of your life? All of that should be on the table, but we are making some progress there. There's no question. But, guys, here's the simple thing, and I think you'll agree with me, Neil. If you don't want that to be an issue, just don't commit a felony. Okay? Now, having said that, I think every living, breathing human being listening to this program within earshot or video shot of us at some point in their lives has inadvertently committed a felony. Just not been caught.
Well, here's another thing. Well, listen, if all you did was steal $40,000 from the Youth Hockey League 40 years ago, right? And you went to jail and you paid your fines, why can't you go hunting with your grandkids? There's a lot of people who have no business losing their gun rights. I'm not talking about terrorists. I'm not talking about gangbangers. I'm just talking about somebody who stole a car when he was 20 years old and then went on to have a family and a business and a life, and he still can't have a gun.
Yeah, I got a friend that moved from Ann Arbor, Michigan to California 40 years ago and got caught when he got pulled over into California when he was moving in, and he had some weed in the car. And it was a felony amount at that time. Now, look what's happened with weed today. Okay, we have a case tomorrow we're going to talk about in just a few minutes and throughout the hour. That case is being heard tomorrow. We have a 2A case that is hearing oral arguments tomorrow as soon as the Supreme Court gets out of conference, and there are 2 other Second Amendment cases being looked at in conference tomorrow. So it's a big day for Second Amendment tomorrow, guys, and we'll talk about that. But, yeah, the laws have changed like crazy. You can go online and buy Cheech and Chong THC gummies under the hemp bill, okay, at least for now anyway, save for that idiot Mitch McConnell who banned it, in the big, beautiful bill. But nonetheless, the laws have changed. Should that man be denied his gun rights for the rest of his life? The answer to that is unequivocally no. Neil, I think you agree with that, right? Take us to the break with that.
Yeah, and I think it's, the problem that you run into is like there's a case of a state senator who is being charged with, he was an alternate elector in 2020, and he's indicted by the state of Arizona. And this guy's been convicted of nothing. But the law says that if you are being charged with a felony, even in a state, not federal, the federal government won't let you have a gun. And so, what did this guy do? And so there's a lot of problems with the way this country regulates guns that are not even supposed to be regulated at all. And
there's always
the
that, Neil.
25C program.
Hold on to that thought, Neil. We're getting ready to
925
take a break. We're
Yeah,
getting
right,
ready.
yeah.
When we come back from the hard break, guys, we'll go back to Neil McCabe. Obviously, we've got Neil for the full hour, so buckle in. Time is going to whip right by. It always does. We'll get to as much as we can, but we'll tie in the case that the Supreme Court is hearing tomorrow because it matters when it comes to the weed issue. We'll get some of Neil's thoughts right after the break. Don't go away.
The following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, guys, you need to be a member of all of your organizations that you can. That's vital. It's critical. We've preached that on this program now. April 27th, we begin our 18th year of preaching that. You have to be a member of your states' rights organizations. If you live in Virginia and you're listening to this program and you're not a member of VCDL, honestly, pox on you and shame on you. You need to be a member. Lord knows you know. Well, maybe you don't know. If you're listening to this program, you likely do know what you're going through up there and what's getting ready to happen to you. I had a relative in town. My sister, in fact, my youngest sister was in town this weekend from Virginia. Had her at the range. We had a great time. And she's got a whole new slew of guns, and they're acting now in order to beat what they know is coming. And you need to do the same thing. And the first order of business is joining VCDL. Okay, I'm a member over there, and you need to be as well. But the National Rifle Association, also based in Virginia, is fighting with new management like never before. Please join them, and it's easy to do, nra.org/AAR. You can find them and all of our great partners. If you're watching, you see I got a big cool Bud's Gun Shop shirt on, so make sure to check out our exclusive online retailer, budsgunshop.com. Let's go back to the great Neil McCabe. Excuse me, Real America's Voice. Neil McCabe, welcome back in, my brother. It's always a pleasure to have you here, my friend.
Very, very good to be with you, sir.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Hamani case. Now, we've got two cases tomorrow that are in conference with the Supreme Court, and we'll go to those in just a moment. But the Hamani case deals with controlled substances. And this case is a little complicated in the sense that if you're not really neck deep in this, paying attention to this is kind of hard. So I'm going to just strip it down to bare bones basics. You have got splits in the circuits. The Fifth Circuit said that laws forbidding the possession of firearms while intoxicated likely fit within the national tradition of gun ownership and regulation. And ladies and gentlemen, and Neil, as you know, that's referencing, of course, the Bruin decision, the scope and tradition and history of our laws at the time of the founding, etc. The 3rd District, 6th District, 8th, and I believe the 10th Circuit have all suggested in one way, shape, or form, or another, that the statute that's currently on the books is in fact valid insofar as it disarms drug users whose gun possession in and of itself, not necessarily while intoxicated, may pose a heightened danger. And it's a complicated case, Neil, and the Supreme Court is going to hear oral arguments tomorrow after they get out of conference, of which there are 2 more 2A cases on the docket. We'll go to those in a few minutes. But again, this Hamani case is dealing with this. It could change a lot of lives, Neil. It really could, because the weed issue on the 4473, possession, etc., is a mess. And it's even further complicated, Neil, because Hamani is not a nice guy. Okay? So we have to deal with that as well. But the court will put that aside and deal strictly with what's before it. Or will they? You never know, do you, Neil, how far out of bounds they might go.
Well, didn't the state of Hawaii have a thing where they said, hey, everybody, would you like a license to use pot? And then all these guys filed for their license, and then they cross-indexed it with gun permits, and then they just took away the gun permits of everybody who had a pot license.
Yeah, and we have a situation like that. You know, Florida has medical marijuana cards, and I have friends who have medical marijuana cards who, in fact, just have them and have never even used them, have never been to a dispensary, but they have them. Guys, when you look at the 4473, not to beat a dead horse here, but this, you know, with the Hamani case coming up tomorrow, it's good to be it's a good reminder for all of us. If as you just pointed out, Neil, now Florida not a Democrat state, it's likely not the case that they're going to cross-reference there, but they could because it exists. And if you have that card, are you lying on the form 4473 when you have a card, whether you use it or not? You have a medical marijuana card. Where's the line of distinction here, Neil? So this gets a little complicated. But, guys, if you have that card and you say you are not a user on that form, and if you specifically are a user, you are lying. That's a federal felony, Neil. So it's very serious business, brother, and complicated as well.
It's also complicated, going back to what I was talking about in the other segment about 925C, because one of the delays in getting that program up and running, frankly, is how to handle marijuana convictions.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, there are people, basically, you're supposed to wait 5 years after your conviction, after your sentence is done. Generally, it's accepted that after 5 years, if you're clean, you'll stay clean for the rest of your life. And so they're saying, okay, 5 years after your sentence is complete, then you can apply for this program. But some people want to make it 10 for domestic abuse. And that's just a hard left feminist thing, that it's something they always use it as this cudgel, because then you're like, oh wait, you support wife beaters? And so, like, I don't know why, if you've served your sentence and paid your debt for wife beating, I don't know why that's different if you were a kidnapper or an arsonist, or whatever. But having said that, it'll be interesting to see how this breaks down, because Thomas is an absolutist. Yep. I'm guessing Alito is an absolutist. Gorsuch, Kavanaugh,
and Barrett and Roberts.
And Roberts, they're kind of soft.
This is going to be a wishy-washy deal with them. Let me go back to this. It is a fascinating conversation. I believe if you, like I said, if you want to throw some caveats in there, you've got somebody that's committed a blank felony, and this is where it gets really nuanced, the type of felony. If you've completed that sentence and X amount of time has gone by, but this is, like you just said, with the weed, 5 years, this is really subjective stuff. Not everybody's the same. And it's hard to lump all of this together, but that's the way the law is going to have to work. I'm fascinated to see how this Hamani case turns out. Now, we're not going to find out until summer, but in fact, we will find out. And
the other thing, Mark, is that if you're in a state, right, where everybody just smokes pot, and it's I don't know what state. I'm sure there's some state where there's no regulation of pot either, like probably Oregon. Oregon, you shoot up heroin, it's not a problem.
Well, that's true.
So you have somebody in Oregon, right, and then you have other states that still tightly regulate marijuana. Yeah. It's like these are American citizens who are being held to different standards.
Well, let's take alcohol. Let's put alcohol in the mix here. I can hear people screaming. Guys, if you're screaming about alcohol out there, I hear you. Okay? What if you're a habitual drunk? Doesn't stop you from owning a firearm. There's a big distinction here, though. Alcohol is legal under federal law. Marijuana under federal law is not. So that begs the question, because you have the Trump administration defending the marijuana laws now in court. So that's why this is going to be interesting. And you do have, as I said, you've got those circuit splits in the 5th, and then between the 3rd, 6th, 8th, and 10th. I believe the 10th. I'll check that during the break and make sure. But it's definitely the 3rd, 6th, and the 8th. And I'm pretty solid on the fact it's the 10th as well. So you've got these differing opinions, and it's the court took a heavy one here. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, as I mentioned, because Hamani is not a nice guy. But alcohol is legal, guys. Weed under federal law is not, and that begs this question, Neil. Maybe we can talk about this when we come back. Is this why the federal government refuses to legalize weed? Does it have something to do with guns? I would certainly agree with that under a Democrat administration. That just keeps more people from buying guns as far as the Democrats are concerned, so it works for them. But what about this administration? Neil McCabe, 2 more segments, Real America's Voice. We'll be back with Neil right after the break. Don't go away.
This segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by Blackout Coffee. Visit them at blackoutcoffee.com/AAR. Grab that discount and free shipping. Welcome back to the show.
All right, Greg in Dallas, Texas, I'm going to make this really, really easy for you, okay? You and I have not talked about coffee today.
No, we have not.
We have not. I fell asleep really early last night. I had relatives over, and I barbecued and all that, did some shrimp and steak and burgers and all that fun stuff.
All right.
Yesterday, and they all split around, I don't know, about 8:30, 9 o'clock. And I fell asleep really early. I woke up about 1:30 in the morning, never went back to sleep.
Eesh.
And had to take my sister to the airport at 6:45 so she could board a 9 o'clock flight out of Atlanta back up to Northern Virginia. How many cups of, I almost gave it away, how many cups of coffee, of Blackout coffee, do you think I had this morning?
Well, I'm going to say you probably should have stuck a little pinch between your cheek and gum and then down the whole pot.
I had so much Blackout coffee today, guys, that I re-upped my monthly order times 2 today so it would ship early. I ordered 2 extra bags today. I am not kidding. I swear to you that's true. And it's the roaster's choice. But it's great stuff. I can't live without this stuff anymore. It is the best coffee I've ever had. The more I drink it, the more it grows on me. Guys, if you're watching on your devices, you can see that little QR code up there. That's blackoutcoffee.com/AAR. If you can't see it and you're listening on hundreds of radio stations, blackoutcoffee.com/AAR and take advantage of it. Let's go back to Neil McCabe. Neil, welcome back in, brother.
Very good to be with you, sir.
All right, so let's go back to this as we were talking before the break. Fascinating conversation. Greg was mentioning Arizona earlier. Arizona is a state that has dispensaries, okay? Let's just wrap this conversation up with this. I want your prediction, and it's a hard one. How do you think the court will rule in this?
I think the court, you have the Democratic justices are pro-pot, and
but very
the Republican
anti-gun.
Justices are. Yeah, but
See?
Yeah, but I think I think they're going to land on pot, and then the gun guys are going to say, "Hey, let the potheads have their guns."
Let the potheads have their guns. You are losing that Boston accent. You just proved that right there. Let the potheads have their guns. Yeah, I think the liberal justices will. It's going to be interesting to me to see how Barrett, not as much Kavanaugh, Alito, Thomas, but Barrett and Gorsuch. It's going to be interesting to see how they rule, keeping in mind that they have all ruled in favor of our Second Amendment rights when those cases have popped up. Now, let's talk about what's coming up in conference. We have an assault weapons ban case, one of the two. And we also have a hardware case. Okay, we have got Bonita case, or Bonta case. We have the Bonta case. And we have the Illinois case. And this is an assault, quote-unquote, assault weapons ban case. You in Virginia, you Virginians need this case taken badly. The nation needs the case taken badly, but you guys you have your backs against the wall. This could put whatever they want to do about your guns to bed fairly quickly. Any chance they take that case now, or do you think they're going to push it off to the next term? Hard to guess.
I'm guessing what's going to happen is that if Thomas and Alito do decide to retire, they may want one last gun case, or whatever gun cases they can have. And so, I still believe that the Republicans hold on to the Senate and actually pick up maybe 2 or 3 or 4 seats in the Senate. But if at the end, if in June, guys say, "Hey, we're out," they may want to take a bite at the apple while they're still there, and get these gun cases on the books rather than trust it to someone else.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that. And guys, I want to correct myself here. The other cases, there's multiple cases in conference right now. That is Duncan v. Bonta and Gators Custom Guns v. Washington, dealing with magazine bans, as well as the Viramontes v. Cook County and Grant v. Higgins and National Associations of Gun Rights v. Lamont, which is challenging assault weapons bans, in addition to hearing the oral arguments on Hamani tomorrow. So lots up there for 2A. We don't know what's going to happen in conference. We never do. We watch the Fourth Circuit case push off for weeks and weeks and weeks. and then denied cert with commentary in a separate writing from Kavanaugh, who basically told us the court will take one of those cases, and you could pretty much read between the lines there. But they need to take one of these cases quickly. I think you're right. Let's talk about Alito. There's rumors, I hate to put it, but they're circulating in left-wing circles, that Alito may retire with midterms coming up. What do you think about that? And if that were to be true, I would theorize that he's definitely going to be a vote for one of these cases. But is there any truth to that, Neil? You've been watching the court for decades.
The way it could work is it's going to follow the model of Justice Kennedy, where Kennedy agreed to step aside because he was told that one of his clerks would replace him. And so people who follow sports, especially football, are familiar with the coaching trees and how certain coaches are associated with it's like just so you follow Parcells or Mike Holmgren or some of these other, you follow these coaches and their assistants, they become coaches and everything else. And so in the Supreme Court, they really keep track of their clerks. Mm-hmm. And the idea is that, there might be 200 or 300 people who clerked for Clarence Thomas. He's been on the court so long. And that is an active, alumni association. And if you tell Thomas, hey, if you step down, we're going to name one of your guys to replace you, that's very compelling because it extends your legacy, and it basically in effect your coaching tree. And everyone knows that these justices have the job for life, but the understanding is that at some point you're going to retire, so that the party that put you when the party that put you on the bench has the White House, you have an obligation to retire so that they can replace you with someone younger and extend control of that seat. Now, some people don't retire, and some people die on the bench, and then we saw that, that's why we have the 6-3 majority that we have now, because Ginsburg refused to retire, and Obama pressured her. Mm-hmm. But Obama put two people on the Supreme Court, and one of the persons was filling the David Souter seat. Right now, Souter was put on by George H.W. Bush, but they told Bush he was a conservative, but liberal Republicans basically pulled a fast one, and it turns out he was, he's liberal as sin. And he's so liberal as sin that he retired when Obama was president, so Obama could take that seat. And I think that's sort of part of the dynamics as we approach the end of this session. And remember, Sotomayor isn't a young woman, right? Roberts is like 70 years old. And so there's some other dynamics in play.
Yeah, well, one is the makeup of the Senate. And I know we're getting ready to take a break here in just a minute, so I'll kind of telegraph where we're going to go. I want to talk a little bit about that as well, because the Republicans' internal polling is going to be a lot different than what we're seeing on left-wing media outlets as we get closer and closer to the midterms, Neil. They're going to have a much better idea than we do. And could that cause pressure? I'll let you take us to the break, but that could absolutely cause pressure on Alito, could it not?
Well, same thing. If you offer Alito if you offer him the chance to put one of his clerks on, that's very compelling. And then what you could have is a situation like we saw in 2018 with Kavanaugh, where one of the reasons why the Republicans picked up seats in the Senate in 2018 was because of the Kavanaugh fight. And so it's a way of motivating the base if there's a Supreme Court seat involved. And so, if you believe that this is a majority conservative country, you want a Supreme Court fight before the midterms.
Okay, I'm not going to disagree with that. I want to go back to something you said at the outset of the program in segment one, and that is the base is ticked off. I'm going to talk about that with Neil McCabe when we come back, because that will determine what happens come November. And guys, November is going to be here in a blink of an eye. It's already March 1st. We'll be back with Neil. One more segment. Don't go away.
This segment is brought to you by Attorneys on Retainer. Get the only self-defense program for gun owners backed by a real law firm, the Attorneys for Freedom. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back.
Yeah, guys, welcome back. This is an Attorneys on Retainer card that I'm holding up in front of the microphone. If you're listening, you can't see it, but here it is. There you go. You can hear it. If you're watching, you can see it. I carry this card with me everywhere I go, and you should too. We're going to talk a little bit about Attorneys on Retainer when we come back at the top of the hour with Jared Yanis from Guns and Gadgets, who will be here. I had the distinct honor, privilege, and pleasure to moderate a panel that he sat on. He is the real deal, and we'll talk a little bit about Attorneys on Retainer. But having said that, if you carry a gun, you know bad things can happen, not just after you defend or during the time you have to defend yourself, but afterwards as well. The law will get involved, ladies and gentlemen, and you're going to want an attorney. $37 a month, the most no-brainer sponsor we've ever had on this program. Put an attorney in your pocket, but not just one, up to 4. God forbid you have to use a firearm to defend your life. Now you're alive, you've survived. Now you might have very serious problem with the legal aspect of things, okay? So we want to make sure that you're covered, and Attorneys on Retainer can keep you and your life intact. attorneysonretainer.us/AAR. Read the site, watch the videos, and do something about it. If you've been on the fence, get off the fence. It's the best $37 a month you will spend. Talk about peace of mind. Good heavens, you can find them and all of our great partners, including CZ, Kahr Arms, PatriotMobile.com. Get that phone. This is a Patriot Mobile phone. Activate one at PatriotMobile.com/AAR today. I can promise you that AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile do not support your rights like Patriot Mobile does. PatriotMobile.com/AAR. All of our great partners and sponsors are available for you at ArmedAmericanRadio.com or .org, and we have a few more coming up over the course of the next few days. Neil McCabe, Real America's Voice. Welcome back in, my brother. How you doing? It's always great to have you here, Neil.
Hey, fantastic. Good to be with you, sir.
All right, so you were talking about the base being ticked off. So let's talk a little bit about that, because the Democrats are ticked off as well. We know, bar none, because we saw what happened in Virginia. We saw our friend Lee Wamsgans lose a district down there in a special election in Texas by 14 points that Trump had carried by 17 points, a 31-point swing when you break it down, do the math. Now, she's running again, okay, in the general for that same seat, and will likely have much more success because a very small percentage of voters turned out during that ice storm. But nonetheless, Neil, the other side's hatred of Donald Trump is driving what we're seeing here. And are the Democrats getting a push? Do they have wind behind them in the midterms? Give us some predictions. You're very good at this. November will be here in the blink of an eye, Neil.
Well, you have the midterms. You have two dynamics, right? You have the House and you have the Senate. So, talk about the House. House races are tied to the President of the United States, and so if the president in your party is popular and doing well and motivated and out there campaigning, then you should be fine. It's like they say, oh, well, the Democrats have to win the House because they don't have the White House, and it always goes back and forth. It doesn't always go back and forth. Mm-hmm. Democrats have held the House for like 30 years. There are other times when the Republicans had the House for 40 years. It doesn't flip control every time. But having said that, it's tough, and they're going to have to figure it out. Obviously, with the redistricting in California, mm-hmm. the redistricting in Florida and Texas, Republicans in Indiana refusing to redistrict, right?
Virginia trying to steal the next generation of elections with redistricting.
So they'll do it in Virginia, right? Mm-hmm. So that has to play out. But there have been midterms when the president's party picks up seats in the House. I would point to the 1934 election midterm, because that is what I would call a validating election, because Franklin Delano Roosevelt reboot the presidential paradigm from Hoover and Coolidge and Harding, and he was starting a whole new program called the New Deal, and he asked people to back him up, and they backed him up, and he picked up seats in that midterm, and that's unusual, but it happens. Mm-hmm. On the Senate side, Senate races are usually not tied to the president, but they're tied to either statewide issues or personalities or other things in play. Right now, there's Susan Collins in Maine is the only Republican senator up for re-election in a state that Trump lost. But you also have Ossoff in Georgia. Well, that's a state that Trump won. So so you could have a switch where basically the Republican wins in Georgia and the Democrat wins in Maine. That's a one-off. But you also have states like in Michigan and Wisconsin and New Hampshire where you have incumbents retiring, and when an incumbent retires, what that means is that they went to their fundraisers and they went to their party, whether Republican or Democrat, and they said, "Hey, I'm in trouble. The polls aren't good. Can you help me?" And the party and the fundraisers say, "No, we're not going to help you." That's why they retire. And so that tells you that things are in play. And so you could conceivably see Republicans pick up if Susan Collins holds on to her seat, and she has a fantastic organization and she's really fighting for this. You could see the Republicans pick up 4 seats in the Senate, which changes all of the dynamics for the confirmations. And so we'll have to see. If the Republicans lose control of the Senate, what you are going to see, though, is that the House, in the lame duck session between the election in January, you're going to see both the House and the Senate controlled by Republicans passing a ton of laws, and you're also going to see a bunch of people leave their cabinet positions and get a quick confirmation. Because right now, the Senate is so tight, even if Trump wanted to fire someone in the cabinet or a deputy or somebody, anybody who has to be replaced with a confirmation fight, that person has 100% job security, because nobody wants a confirmation fight in this Senate right now. That's sort of the dynamic as we go into the midterms. There's about 22 Republican seats that are being defended, and about 12 or 13 Democratic seats being defended. Typically, that hurts. Typically, when you're defending more seats, that hurts you because you're spreading out your resources. But as I said, for the Republicans, every single one of those seats, except for Collins, is in a state that Trump won. Mark?
Yeah, my prediction in Georgia is Ossoff loses the race. I say that as a Georgia resident. He is not highly thought of here. Sadly, we've got Warnock for another few years, but we'll get to him when we can get to him. Neil, your prediction. Do Republicans hold the House and Senate? Real quick, 20 seconds.
The Republicans hold the House and the Senate, and I want to say before we leave, you can find me on all the socials at Reporter McCabe, and look for me tomorrow at Real America's Voice. I'll be doing hits from the White House and giving updates on the war in Iran that probably some people have heard about.
Yeah, some people have heard about it. Neil McCabe, we're going to watch you live on television all day tomorrow. Thank you for being here, brother. I love you. We'll get the video up for you. I know people want to see you while they hear you as well. It's modern technology.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out, folks. We'll figure it out. We always do. That's Neil McCabe, Real America's Voice. Make sure to watch him live from the White House tomorrow on the reporting that he just told you. And follow him on all his socials at Reporter McCabe, like we do. You should do the same thing. Make sure to visit all of our great partners. Don't forget Pot of Gold Auctions, POGauctions.com. Pick up some really cool stuff over there and support the right to bear arms. We will have some Walk the Talk America suicide prevention auctions coming up soon. We'll talk with those folks at POGauctions.com, but they've got really fun stuff. When we come back, Jared Yanis and Dr. John Lott. Don't go away. See you at 6 after.
You just filled your prescription for freedom on Armed American Radio with Mark Walters, the loudest voice in America fighting for gun rights.
All right, guys, we'll be back at 6 minutes after. We're going to take a quick break. It's the top of the hour because we are being heard on hundreds of radio stations across the nation. That time belongs to them. That's why we have a break here. So we'll put the clock up there for you, let you know. Go get your fun stuff, do whatever you're doing. Grab some pretzels, go grab a beverage, either kind, whatever you want, soft or hard, doesn't matter to me. Take your pick your poison. And when we come back, Jared Yanis from Guns and Gadgets will be here, followed by Dr. John Lott. We are going to be talking about the attack, and it was a terror attack. I don't care how they slice it in Austin, and why you need to be carrying a firearm, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of threats out there today. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense tomorrow. We'll have Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason. He will be here 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 Pacific time. You can do the math in your time zones. So take your break, enjoy it, just like we're going to do, and we'll see you on the flip side at 6 minutes after the hour. Yeah, Ryan was just telling me that All right, guys, we'll be back with you in about 4 minutes. So we switched up topics with Jared. We were going to talk a little bit about the Federalist Papers, but we're not going to have time with 2 segments. And frankly, we both agreed that that would make for boring radio. So we're going to cover a couple cases and get Jared's unique perspective on everything. Talk a little bit about what we both witnessed at the AAR convention, which we hope to see you at. Next one, yeah, they did a dynamite job. Oh, your mic's hot, Greg. You can say hey to everybody if you want to.
Jared on hold.
Jared on hold. Roger that, over. Neil seemed pretty optimistic about the midterms. I'm not so optimistic on the House side. More so on the Senate, but
Neil's more optimistic than I am because there's a lot of people out here that want to see arrests, and we're not seeing them.
that's a fact. That's
We
part
have
of why
a-
he was talking about the base being ticked off. That's a lot about what he was talking about.
Yeah, and
Well, that's to say that maybe not he was talking about, but it's rolled into that base being ticked off. Well, a lot of people are.
oh yeah, if we don't get arrests, and you got Susan Rice out here threatening us,
Yeah, that was almost physical, guys. If you saw or heard Susan Rice, that was. And guys, you got to take them at their word. You ignore them at your own peril.
Trump and Pam Bondi, the idiot, ignores them at their own word.
You can tell that Greg is not a fan of Bondi.
I don't know how you mess up as much as you have, and it's plain and simple how to arrest them.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I'm not super pleased with her, but I'd rather have her than anybody that a Kamala Harris would have put in. I'll couch it with that.
That would just be an accelerator. You know, let's just get to the party. We passed 60.
All right, let me know when we're at 30.
All right. And close, and 30.
All right, thank you. Ooh, that's
This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Kahr Firearms Group studio at the Patriot Mobile Communication Center on the CZ Platinum microphone. Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
I was just getting ready to take a sip of my sugar-free Red Bull when all of a sudden the show is upon us again. Welcome in. Greg in Dallas, Texas. How you doing, brother? Hour 2 is now underway, my friend.
Yeah, here we are. That first hour flew right by.
Yeah, this weather drives me nuts. You need AC, then it gets hot. You put it on, it gets cold. It gets cold at night. It's hot during the day. Man, I'm ready for summer, brother, you know?
Welcome to spring in the South.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, the guitars behind me and in the studio and home are just, the wood just doesn't know what to do. Keep humidifiers on. I'm over it. Let's get some summer going. All right, guys, welcome inside the Kahr Firearms Group Studios with me. The Kahr Firearms Group Studios. Justin Moon from Kahr Arms will be here in the next hour in the roundtable. That's going to be a lot of fun. He was traveling back and forth to Taiwan. We gave him a little bit of break. I did see a couple text messages. Where's AWR Hawkins been? AWR Hawkins has been traveling, but he will be back with us next week. We might even see if we can bring him in on a Daily Defense show. We miss our dose of AWR Hawkins, and we missed him last week when we were in Phoenix and again this week, but that's okay. He will be back. He is alive and well and breathing, and we love some AWR Hawkins. Guys, make sure to visit all of our great partners. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. Hundreds of radio stations tuned in. You're watching on all the social medias out there, those platforms. And, Greg, we are back on Rumble, rumble.com/armedamericanradio today, live on the broadcast, and facebook.com/armedamericanradio. I'll let you do your thing, and then we'll go to Jared Yanis from Guns and Gadgets, and where we had a topic shakedown a few minutes ago so we can keep it pertinent for you guys. Greg, take it away. We'll go to Jared.
Yeah, sure. Other places to watch the show are going to be YouTube. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. You can watch us over on X at AAR Mark. You can head on over to armedamericanradio.org or .com, hit that menu icon, then select your watch live or listen live option. And lastly, if you'd like to join our live chat, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Yes, you can do that. It's super easy. We hope you do. Jared Yanis, Guns and Gadgets, my friend. How are you doing, brother? Welcome in.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Going well. It was great seeing you in Arizona last week. Man, it was a lot of fun. Did you get back on time and everything, man? That trip took a lot out of me. I was out there for 5 or 6 days.
No, it was the worst travel I've ever had to and from. We made it safe, but it was not a good time for American Airlines.
I wouldn't have wanted, yeah, I'm sure. American, well, that's part of it right there, Jared. I'll tell you that. But I was just telling Greg in the other hour, I got very little sleep last night, and I hit I asked him how much blackout coffee he thinks I had this morning. I've been up since about 1:30, 1:45 this morning. Then I just stayed up, had to take my sister to the airport at 6:45. I lived off of a pot and ordered more of it today in addition to my regular monthly subscription because you know what? I can't live without my blackout coffee anymore. And today was a prime example of that, and that happened all week when I got back from Arizona. For some weird reason, that time change really hit me for that following week. But yeah, we're glad you're back safe, brother. And I agree with you and your text a few moments ago, guys. Jared texted me during the previous hour with Neil McCabe and said, I think we should steer clear of Federalist 35. Makes for boring radio. So that's exactly what we're going to do. You want to talk the Hamani case? We got a lot going on at the Supreme Court tomorrow morning, Jared.
Yeah, it should be an interesting day tomorrow. I'm interested to see what the line of questioning is from the justices, because that might give us a look into the decision that'll probably drop in June, but it should be a good one.
How do you think that case is going to go? It's complicated, but it's not, but it is, but it's not. You know, he's not a nice guy, but you've got very clear circuit splits. You have the Fifth Circuit saying something that the Third, Eighth, 10th are not, and the Fourth. How do you think this shakes out?
Well, it's always tough to tell with the Supreme Court, as you know, because they don't do anything like most of us would want as far as the Supreme Court and the Second Amendment is concerned. But I think they have to do the right thing on this case. You know, for those who are listening, the Hamani case is the marijuana user case with firearms and their permanent lifetime ban for smoking a marijuana cigarette at some point in their life. It's not a legit good reason to ban somebody. If you say, yes, I smoked weed in college, does that mean at 50 years old I shouldn't be able to defend myself or my family? I don't think it's, you know, I don't think you get from A to B on that one, and I think it's about time the Supreme Court fixes that.
I'm glad they took the case because it is a complicated one and it is an issue. And regardless of Hamani's past, what matters is what's in front of the court now, and that's the weed issue. And when you talk about that weed issue, which we have done many, many times on the show over many, many years, because it impacts so many Americans, it comes down to while smoking it is a little bit of nuance versus, maybe once in a while smoking it. But you're right. It's a ban. So I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Neil McCabe. Is this why the federal government never legalizes weed? Now, if it were a Democrat administration, I would say, well, hell yeah, it is. Because that just singles out more gun owners that won't be gun owners or possible gun owners, and they hate guns and gun owners. So it makes sense under a Democrat administration, but does it make sense under a Trump administration to be defending that federal law? How about just legalizing weed and calling it quits?
Well, our DOJ that we currently have right now has never met a federal piece of gun control that they don't support, so that kind of answers.
Bingo.
Okay, now Greg just yelled in my ear, bingo. He's right. He's no fan. We were talking during the break. He's no fan of Bondi. But again, I have to couch it with this. I think you'll agree. Feel free to disagree. But I'd rather have Bondi at this point than anybody that Kamala Harris would have put in place. So there's always that. So we got to kind of straddle that line, or do we?
Well, I mean, that's like saying I'm a cat guy. I'd rather have a cat than a dog. I mean, they're supposed to be doing the job of defending our rights. It doesn't matter what party they're in. So, yes, Pam Bondi could be better than a Democrat. She's definitely better than her predecessor. But failing to defend the Second Amendment when the Trump administration campaigned on it isn't really good either.
Yeah, now let's go to Trump and the administration campaigning on it. because I didn't hear a peep from Donald Trump. And I've heard from, I've heard both sides of this. Paul Markle, student of the gun on Friday, said, why are we so concerned about Trump not talking about the Second Amendment in the State of the Union speech? We shouldn't be worried about that. Nobody's coming to help us. Let's quit depending on Trump and the president. On the other hand, I'm a member of the committee from the RNC that has never been asked for my opinion once. None of us on the committee have, as far as I know. So that's bothersome. David Kodry was all over it, saying, I wanted to hear something Second Amendment related from Donald Trump, but there might be some reasons why. I'd like to get your thoughts on that. Were you disappointed when you watched?
Well, disappointed, kind of, but did I expect him to address the Second Amendment? No. It's a topic, regardless of who the president is. It's never really at the forefront of the State of the Union, if you will. It's always the economy, immigration, and stuff like that. It's never been something that's been a hot ticket item, and I didn't think it would be any different this year's State of the Union. It's a fight that we've always fought. It's a fight we'll always have to continue to fight. We have a government that doesn't want us to have that individual right, and it doesn't matter what they say during the campaign tour. Actions speak louder than words, and they have done some good things. We have some wins. They're attacking some state laws. But like I said, the DOJ still defends the federal gun control at every step of the way. So it's kind of a 6 of one, half a dozen of another one.
I can't disagree with that. And when I look at Virginia, which is why when you have midterms coming up, gun owners are going to be so important to the voting bloc. Neil reminded us that Trump's base is ticked off right now, in a large part because of what you just heard from Greg. A lot of people are dismayed, if you will. By lack of accountability is the word that we want to use from this administration and from Bondi. And then on the other side of the flip coin of that, she's, as we said, she's better than what maybe a Harris would have given us, no doubt about that. But then we have what the Democrats are doing in Virginia, and I would have thought that would have been a prime opportunity for Trump to say, look what they're doing in Virginia to your gun rights. Your Second Amendment is safe with me, as a way to get to that voting bloc that might be a little ticked off, that wants to hear about the Second Amendment, that they desperately need to hold the House and the Senate, Jared. There's a lot in play here, bro.
There is, and the Second Amendment section in the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice have intimated that they're looking at Virginia and what they're going to do. Of course, you have to have a law passed before they can do anything about it. It would be nice if they would say something about it, but even no matter what the federal government does, they really can't control the state government and how they operate within state. So, whatever Trump would have said, it would have just been for bullet points.
Yeah.
It's going to come down to the people who live in Virginia actually getting involved, and holding their elected officials accountable and taking the matter into their own hands, instead of hoping that like a GOA or NRA or Second Amendment Foundation or you name the group, they can't come in like on a riding a white horse to save the day. It comes down to the people.
Yeah, like we said before, nobody's coming to save you, right? Let's touch back on that when we come back from the break. You mentioned a couple good points. It comes down to Virginians making the difference. Let's talk a little bit about how maybe they can make the difference when they're facing what they're facing up there. Because, guys, this is a window into what the Dems want if they take the trifecta. We'll be back after this with Jared.
The following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, welcome back to the show indeed. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom today and every day on hundreds of radio stations around the nation. Great to have you with us. We appreciate and love you guys, all of our great affiliates across the country from coast to coast, and there are many, many, many of you. And we do appreciate that so much. Please, guys, visit our partners and support them all. They make it all possible. We couldn't be here without our sponsors, every single one of them. When, of course, you just heard National Rifle Association, NRA.org/AAR, NRA.org/AAR. Join them and join us. Join us, okay? New management. The days of Wayne are done. They're over. We need to move forward, and many of you have, and we appreciate it. It's real simple to do. It's NRA.org/AAR. And, of course, you can also visit all of our other great partners, including Bud's Gun Shop, Crossbreed Holsters, and the like, over at armedamericanradio.com. Please do that. We appreciate it. Jared Yanis, Guns and Gadgets. Welcome back, brother. It's always fun to have you here. Let's wrap up Virginia, and then let's go out to Austin, Texas, and talk a little bit about that. But I'll let you give your final thoughts on Virginia and what they can do. I mean, what are their options now? This is a loaded question, you know. How do you fight this? You hear that old deal, you can't fight City Hall, right? How do they fight this, man? What do they do collectively to put a stop to this madness, this tyranny?
Well, you're going to have to get involved. Far too many people don't get involved until it's too late. And then, then they complain about the problem. I mean, just look at the election system. People don't like to go and vote anymore for many reasons. And I was picking on Virginia, but if we're just going to abandon the system that our founders died to set up, we might as well just burn the whole thing down now. For this past year in Virginia, only 54.9% of the people showed up to vote that are registered. And if you look at the year prior, which is a presidential election, which historically high numbers come out, it was their lowest turnout for a presidential election since the year 2000. So it's been a problem with getting people out to vote, not just in Virginia, but across the country. We all want to have things the easy way, but that's not the way this country was designed. It was designed for the people to be the voice, to be the power, and to be involved. And we're moving further and further away from that. And when we do that, we let the enemy take control and force things in this country that are unconstitutional. So they got to grab the bull by the horns.
And now you got a lot of people speaking this language. But it's what they're relegated to. Guys,
exactly.
You've got to look. There's an old saying as well. You can't refuse to accept the situation. Okay, if you didn't vote, you caused this. You caused this, and it's hard to sympathize with you at that point. Now, I'm not going to say that about it's not a broad brush paintbrush, but you know who you are, and you own this. So it's up to you to fix it if you're serious. The part of the problem, Jared, before I go to Austin, Texas, is that so many people are now just complacent. They say, you know what, we don't stand a chance, and they just pull back. They say, I'm going to live my life. I don't care about it anymore. I'm done. I've got my guns. Nobody's going to take my guns, period. And I'm just pulling out. No longer watching news. I'm no longer pulling pot. A lot of that happened in Virginia. I know some people who feel that way. Real quick, and then we'll go to Austin.
Those are called Tories back in the day, man. And we don't need Tories. We need patriots.
That's exactly what we need. Austin, property of Allah. Man, this is a terror attack, no question about it. Ooh. What's your advice to all Americans? I know the answer to this question, but I want people to hear it from Jared Yanis from Guns and Gadgets.
Look, guys and gals, if you can hear this, take this serious. The enemy is here. They've been here. They've been waiting. And it's time for us to take advantage of our Second Amendment and just arm yourself, arm your family, train together, keep your head on a swivel. You never know when it can happen anywhere at any time. And it's always better to shoot back and have a chance than it is to wait for 15 minutes for an arrival of a police department. They're here. So, don't pretend they're not. And don't leave your life in somebody else's hands.
Which is exactly what you're doing if you're walking around unarmed, ladies and gentlemen. That's a victim mindset, isn't it, Jared? I mean, flat out, I don't need to carry a gun. I live on the right side of the tracks. I'm only going to the grocery store. I'm only going to church. Nothing bad's going to happen to me. Keep thinking that way.
And that's when it happens. And, carry a gun. And God forbid you have to defend yourself. If you have a gun you shouldn't have, you're in an area you shouldn't have. That's why you have attorneys on retainer. They'll fight for you. But fight for yourself because you might not get a second opportunity.
Yeah, you know what? You can say nobody's coming to save you. Guys, we're talking about at that moment when it happens. Okay, you are your own first responder. No truer words have ever been spoken. But you mentioned attorneys on retainer. You and I spent some time there. I have to tell you, I thought Alan Gottlieb gave the best speech I've ever seen him give in all of the years I've known him. And I thought it was wonderful. And let's talk a little bit about our panel. We had a lot of questions in. We were short 2 people who couldn't make it. Heavy Duty Country Dan couldn't make it and other. But nonetheless, we had a great panel. It was a fantastic time. Give us your thoughts on that convention. I thought it was dynamite, man.
It was really good. It was the first one I've been to. And like was said at the convention, it's a movement. They're doing the right thing. They have the best program in the country. They brought some of the best people in the industry together. Alan knocked it out of the box with his speech. It was great to see people who had never heard from Alan before, how mesmerized they were with his knowledge and what he spoke about. It was just really, really good to have the people who came from across the country to experience that. It was a great event, and so don't miss next year's.
Yeah, and guys can watch it. I'm still waiting. In fact, I talked to a few folks over at AAR just a couple days back, both Thursday and Friday, and I'm still waiting for some video links. And when I get those video links, guys, we'll put that up because I really want you to watch Alan Gottlieb's speech. It was very telling, Jared, about how we got to where we are today, dating back 51 years now from 1974 when he talked about it on that stage. I don't know, maybe you might disagree with me, but I kind of watched Alan embrace himself as an elder statesman. I think I saw Alan realize there's nobody like him that came before him, and there's not going to be anybody like him coming after him. Did you catch that? Did you get that sense?
I did, yeah, and there's nobody else who can pull off a bow tie like him either.
He does rock the bow tie, doesn't he? And that was a bow tie award at the Gun Rights Policy Conference. Yeah, I mean, look, guys, for $37 a month, attorneys on retainer is what you need. It's pretty much that simple. I got to ask you, Jared, it's March already, bro. Midterms are coming, and they're coming quick. I mean, it's ridiculous how fast time is flying. We're going to blink, and we're going to be pulling a lever, pushing a button, denting a dimpled Chad, whatever you want to call it, okay? Or whatever, however you describe voting, folks. The days of pulling the curtain and pulling the levers are over. But nonetheless, it's going to be November before we know it. How do you think this shakes out, and how important is this coming up?
Well, historically, the midterms always go to the opposite party than the president holds. So historically, it should go to the Democrats anyway. And since the Republicans fell short on their redistricting goals, it's going to be a tough year. We have a slim majority right now anyway, especially if Tony Gonzalez steps down before the end of the term, which he should. But it's going to be tough for them. There's a lot of people that are angry about the Second Amendment issue. There's a lot of people that are angry about the lack of transparency, and then the outright lies of the Jeffrey Epstein files. There's a lot of people that are very upset with some of the things they were promised, man.
Oh, there's no question about it. I got to cut it there, bro. I got so much I could talk with you about. We'll do it again in the very near future. Tell everybody real fast, 15 seconds, where they can find you.
Guns and Gadgets on YouTube, and if you like spicier, up-to-the-minute things, check me out on X.
There you go. Guns and Gadgets, ladies and gentlemen. That's Jared Yanis. Thanks, Jared. Let's help him get to 1 million. We'll be back with John Lott right after the break. indeed. Welcome back to the show. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast continues here in these Kahr Firearms Group studios. Ladies and gentlemen, we are halfway down with the 3-hour program. I tell you every single week, buckle in. It flies right by. It always does. Greg and Dallas, get off that Zoom switch today, man. We're moving a little bit too fast right now. I have a lot to talk about, and the segments being just 2 segments with our guests, sometimes it's tough to get them all in. Guys, we're going to talk with Dr. John Lott right now. Of course, crimeresearch.org, crimeresearch.org. Nobody does the research like John and his staff at crimeresearch.org. Please join them over there and donate if you would. We donate every month to John. You can do the same thing. With the information that you're about to hear is one of a kind. John's the only one that gives us the truth. Well, the other side can't stand it. And that's why we love Dr. John Lott. Welcome to the program, John. It's always a pleasure, my friend. How are you today?
Doing okay. Got a little bit of a cold, but otherwise,
sounds like you got
okay.
a little bit of a cold. You okay there? That's okay.
I've been sleeping most of the day, but anyway, I think I'll be okay.
Yeah, man, boy, Greg, give him some NyQuil or something. Greg's going to get you some NyQuil, John. I wish you were in the studio with us. You drink that.
Let me send it right down the phone.
He's going to send it right down the phone lines to you, John. Let's talk a little bit about your piece in the Federalist on the 26th just last week. I don't want to go to the transgender issue here, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to hear some things here from John that the mainstream media flat out ignores. And, John, I'm going to take some thunder from you, and I'm going to read a little bit of this and give you a little rest on your voice. But John's piece is titled over at the Federalist, the real rate of transgender violence is much worse than the media wants to admit. If we want serious solutions to mass public violence, we must first confront the facts honestly and debate them openly. And guys, conversation requires honesty from your part. It's that simple. So there we go, John. There you go. Get it out. We're repeatedly told that transgender identifying individuals are not prone to commit gun violence. Major outlets, including the New York Times, AP, CNN, and the Washington Post, publish articles arguing that transgender attacks are extremely rare and run headlines calling out conservative bias. The right exploits Nashville shooting to escalate anti-trans rhetoric, and conservatives use Minneapolis shooting in anti-transgender campaigns. In the wake of the attacks in Canada and Pawtucket, Rhode Island over the past couple of weeks, public debate is once again focused on transgender murders, but the AP, CNN, ABC, NBC, MS Now, formerly MSDNC, and the New York Times never mentioned the Rhode Island shooter identified as transgender. AP never mentioned the Canadian mass murderer was transgender. And guys, that's on top of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police using pronouns, etc., for a dead transgender mass murderer. John, it's crazy out there. How do we get the media to tell us the truth?
Well, I guess we have to go and kind of put out the data ourselves and try to get people to understand what's going on. I mean, it's really ridiculous how poorly done they do look at the data. So, you can go and say, well, there's only 10% of these active shooters may be trans individuals, and therefore they claim that that's a low rate. But the problem is you have to adjust for their share of the population. If transgenders are 1% of the population and they make up 10% of the shooters, I would argue that there's a real problem going on there, that they are disproportionately committing these crimes. And for some reason, the media doesn't understand or is unwilling to go and just adjust for their share of the populations. On top of that, kind of the denominator there, they include a lot of shootings that are really irrelevant. So you include things that are gang fights over drug turf. They use the gun violence archive numbers on active shootings. And, 85% of their cases are drug gangs. Almost all the rest are shootings that involve a robbery or something. And, you got to adjust. You don't want to include those. I mean, they're very different. I mean, there's a reason why the FBI, in its definition of active shootings, defines it as guns fired in public, not part of some other type of crime like a gang fight over drug turf or a robbery. The media itself differentiates those. If you have a gang fight in Chicago over the weekend, that doesn't get national news attention. If you have somebody who goes into a mall or a grocery store or some other place just with the notion of just trying to kill as many people as possible, that's what gets people's attention. And the causes and solutions for gang fights over drug turf are dramatically different than somebody just going in with the notion of just trying to kill as many people as possible.
Yeah, and John, you mentioned, for example, gang wars, drug turf, et cetera. We've covered Chicago on this program for well over a decade and a half. And guys, I'm going to give you some numbers right now out of Chicago just because John mentioned it and I happen to have them in front of me. But just this weekend at 8 a.m., and this number will change by 11 p.m. Eastern or midnight tonight as we're speaking. And it may do that while we're on air. Sometimes it does. If it does, we'll report it in the next hour. We'll keep our eyes peeled for it. We do have it up here on a little ticker clock. But you have 15 wounded and 4 killed as of 8 a.m. today. And that number is likely higher now and will be reported after the weekend. And those, as I said, those numbers will go up but the media will report this stuff as mass shootings, and some outlets, John, as you know, reported as many as 600 plus mass shootings, et cetera. But I have to go back to one of your lines here. The media, however, continues to make basic statistical mistakes. I'm not convinced it's a mistake. I believe it is an inherent bias. And that's just my cynicism when it comes to the media because I've studied it for so long and followed it, and it's very clear what they're up to. I thought we were getting past these woke issues in this country, and I think we are as an electorate. But, John, what do you recommend we do if, in fact, your statistics bear out, as it does, that they make up a greater percentage when you account for what you were talking about, their percentage of the population and percentage of shootings combined? How do you fix this? What's the answer here? Do we ban all transgenders from owning firearms? There's a lot of people that feel we should. There was a time in this country, it was deemed a mental illness, period. If you're a man and think you're a woman, you're nuts. But wokeness has destroyed all of that, and the media just relentlessly hammering us for mentioning that is not helping this situation. In fact, is likely making it worse. John, how do we fix it?
Right. Yeah, well, I'm not going to go and say you need to ban everybody who's transgender from having guns, but at the same time, there's reasons why we look at this stuff, whether it be the fact that these mass killers go and purposely find targets that are, gun-free zones, other things. We need to understand what motivates these people if we're going to try to go and stop these attacks. And, obviously, transgender individuals have suicides at much, much, much higher rates than the general population. And one thing that you see very clearly with these mass public shooters is they're overwhelmingly suicidal. They are very depressed. They feel unappreciated. And, you read the diaries and manifestos from people like the Nashville school shooter or the Minneapolis school shooter. It's very clear that they fall into that category. And so, you have to deal with these things, ignoring what's causing these people, whether it be, them picking out gun-free zones or having certain characteristics at very high rates, such as being transgender. In 2024, transgenders were at least 12, committing active shootings, at least 12
seconds.
Their share of the population. That's something that should, be recognized and something that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah, and I'll tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready to give John's voice arrest for the next 4 minutes over this break, there's one thing we could do right now today, and that's wipe out all gun-free zones, period. And I'll explain why when we come back. We're at the break. We're out of time now, but when we come back, we'll address that gun-free zone issue and why it's so important it gets wiped out. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away.
If you own a firearm, you know that a self-defense incident can happen anytime. That's why you need Attorneys on Retainer. They're the only self-defense program backed by real attorneys who specialize in self-defense cases. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back.
Yeah, guys, welcome back to the Kahr Firearms Group studios. I'm holding up this card, and I am going to continue to beat this into your skulls every single day we are on air. This is the single biggest no-brainer we have ever put on this show. attorneysonretainer.us/AAR. They are the real deal. If you carry a gun, you already know why you carry a gun. And we're going to talk about that with John, too, when we talk a little bit about Austin, because it's real. You heard Jared Yanis talking about that as well. Guys, you know bad things can happen, and if you have to use that firearm, you are going to meet law enforcement. They are going to investigate. You are not entitled to an attorney during the investigation, only if you're charged with a crime. And an investigation can last well over a year or longer before a decision is made, putting your life in limbo. And you don't want to have to hire an attorney during that process. It's going to cost you everything. $37 a month times 12. Do the math. that total number is less by more than half of what a great attorney is going to cost you to keep you out of the slammer and keep you from losing everything. $37 a month. It's the best $37 you'll ever spend. attorneysonretainer.us/AAR. Take advantage of them. Also, visit ccrkba.org/AAR and join over there. You donate if you can. There's little buttons there for you starting at $17.76. You don't have to get in the running to win that Ruger Precision Rifle, but we hope you would. That's ccrkba.org/AAR. Join us. Like I said, you don't have to donate, but we really would hope that you would, as little as $17.76. And one of you, as an Armed American Radio listener, is going to walk away with that $2,200 to $2,500 Ruger Precision package from the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. Visit them, ccrkba.org/AAR. Blackout Coffee, Pot of Gold Auctions, POGauctions.com. Visit all of our great partners at armedamericanradio.com. Let's go back to Dr. John Lott. John, thank you for sticking around with us. I know you're not feeling well, and I do appreciate it. Your dedication to what you do is just immense. And, guys, don't forget crimeresearch.org as well. John is the real deal. John, let's address the gun-free zone issue before we talk a little bit about Austin and terror attack and the potential for more and why it's important for us to be armed. But we could put a big dent in this if we were to wipe out, based on the manifestos that we've all read from these trans shooters and others, not just trans, but all of them, if we were to wipe out gun-free zones. Couldn't we? Wouldn't that make a difference statistically, you believe?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know how, even the trans shooters, even if you look at their, their diaries and manifestos, they have the same comments as others. The Nashville school shooter said that she picked school because it was a gun-free zone. She looked at other targets. People were carrying concealed handguns and other things at those other places, so she didn't want to go there. The Minneapolis school shooter picked not only the school because it was a gun-free zone, he picked the time of day. He didn't want to do it in the morning when parents were dropping off kids at school. He didn't want to do it in the afternoon when they're picking them up because he was worried that one of the parents there might have a permanent concealed handgun. I don't know how many times we can go over this, but look, even if you don't want to just accept what these guys say, and on our website at crimeresearch.org, we've compiled literally dozens of statements, many dozens of statements from these mass murderers explaining why they pick the targets that they do. And, it's just crazy. They may be crazy themselves, but they're not stupid. Their goal is to get media attention. And they know the more people they kill, the more media attention they're going to get. And they know if they go to a place where their victims aren't able to defend themselves, they're going to be able to kill more people and get more media attention. So, it's pretty obvious.
John,
and,
John,
93% of these mass murderers pick gun-free zones.
Yeah, we saw that with the Aurora, Colorado shooting, where it was plainly decided he chose that location, particularly after eyeballing something else, because the other place wasn't a quote-unquote gun-free zone. Look, when people are telling you...
Well, he went. There were 8 movie theaters within a 20-minute drive of his apartment. We know that he cased the different places. He didn't go to the movie theater that had the largest auditoriums in the state of Colorado. He didn't go to the other movie theaters that were closer to his home. He picked the one movie theater out of the 8 that posted signs banning permitted concealed handguns. And whether it be other attacks like the Lafayette movie theater shooter or others, you see the same type of thing at some point, whether it's the statements from these mass murderers or whether it's just, you have multiple places that they could pick. They keep picking the places where guns are banned. And, you'd hope. I don't understand why the media never finds this newsworthy to report when these guys explicitly say why they pick the targets that they do. But, it's just crazy.
It's just because of a political agenda. It's just pure and simple a political agenda, and they're just simply not going to deviate, which is why we beat this horse every single day, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to continue to do so because it is imperative. And we'll probably have a lot of new listeners out there who might be hearing this for the first time, guys. So it's very important that you pay attention. John, let's switch gears with the time we have left quickly, about a minute and a half to 2 minutes on the Austin deal. Now, obviously we're engaged in Iran right now. The Iranians are loving it. The mullah is dead. All right, we've decapitated the head of that snake by about 40 strong. And the people in Iran are, hopefully, sensing that freedom. I've seen some of the videos. It's very encouraging to see. They deserve to be free. But here in this country, we've got a radical element. We just saw a guy in Austin, Texas, say his T-shirt was property of Allah. What do you expect to happen? You think we're going to see more of these attacks as this continues to play out? I'm just curious.
Well, I hope so. I think it's important that, if Trump is able to kind of free up Venezuela and he's able to go and free up Iran, he's going to make the world a much, much safer place than it would have been otherwise. And one can only hope that he succeeds in doing that.
Well, I'm hopeful that he does, and I have kind of a personal stake in this. I met a lot of people from Iran back when I was in college who were forced to go home during the 80-81 hostage crisis, and over all these years, I've often wondered what happened to those poor kids that were forced to go back home. Now, my age, I don't even know how many of them are alive. It was a very sad situation to see. But nonetheless, do you expect to see more terror attacks like we saw in Austin as a result of Trump's movements around the world?
Yeah, I'm not going to be surprised if that happens. They'll activate the sleeper cells that they have around the world. It's one of the reasons why it's been useful for Trump to deport illegal aliens, people that snuck into the country. I hope he continues to try to deport illegal aliens as much as possible.
I can't disagree with that. John, I'm going to let you get your voice rested up. Thank you for being here. It means a lot to us. You're so dedicated, everybody. John Lott, crimeresearch.org. We appreciate everything that he does. Please visit him and support him at crimeresearch.org. It is the Crime Prevention Research Center, crimeresearch.org. You can donate and help us get this information out because, as you know, the mainstream press will never cover the truth. They will not cover the facts. They will put their political agenda first. It's why the Democrats that run Democrat cities just continue to let the killing happen because it doesn't fit their political narrative. They have the ability to stop it. They choose not to. We will continue to beat the facts into your brains because we have to. We'll be back right after the break with a classic Armed American Radio Roundtable. Don't go away.
Just filled your prescription for freedom on Armed American Radio with Mark Walters, the loudest voice in America fighting for gun rights.
too. I'm here.
All right. Oh, God, you look good. How you doing?
I'm all right, brother. Good to be here.
Yeah, man, you look and sound freaking awesome. Boy, hey, Greg, how come Neil couldn't do this?
One's a tech entrepreneur and the other is not.
Guys, you're watching
That's
us.
where I was going.
We are live with you. We've got Ryan Petty in here. We'll get Neil's audio going here soon. Well, not soon today, but we'll have him up here shortly. That was just a little snafu, I think, with his mic. He was getting a double feed. Maybe Ryan, maybe I'll have you give him a buzz and make sure he knows what mic to turn off, because he was getting that double feed, which was telling me that, and Greg and I, that he had a mic open somewhere, which is why it was looping back into him. He was muted on my end. So anyway.
Yeah, I've got StreamYard on mute, so we're good to go.
Okay, excellent. And Greg, that was it right there. There you go. Ryan, I think you just nailed it. He didn't have StreamYard muted. He had Opal on and StreamYard on, and that he was getting a loop back somewhere. But anyway, we'll get it fixed. Simple enough. All right, guys, we'll be back with Ryan Petty and the Roundtable, and Ryan will be joining us on camera for the entire hour. So fun stuff. And you look
Dog.
Good. You look good. Hey, if the dog barks, the dog barks. You know, guys, if you were listening to the show when I was in Arizona last week, you heard we got to hear Remington. And Ryan, you met Remington.
I did.
Yeah, Remington made her presence known behind me, and that's okay. You gotta love Remy. Gotta love the dogs. She just wanted out of her cage, man. She wanted to protect her. She loves her Uncle Mark, because I'm always throwing the balls with her out there at the pool and stuff. But she said, "Let me out, let me out."
They just need a little love.
That's it. That's all they need. Yours too, brother. All right, we're gonna pull you down on here, guys, and we'll be back with the Roundtable in about 4 or 5 minutes.
is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Kahr Firearms Group studio at the Patriot Mobile Communication Center on the CZ Platinum microphone. Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Now, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I tell you, every single week and every single day, Monday through Friday, on the Sunday Monstercast, buckle in. Time flies right by, and it certainly does. You are tuned in to the Kahr Firearms Group studios. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom on hundreds of radio stations around the nation today. We love all of our great affiliates. The CZ microphone is powerful, platinum, and lit up for you here at the ranch at the Patriot Mobile Command Center. I got my hat back from my wife and kids. They keep taking it from me, but I found it yesterday. Guys, we're live for you on Facebook.com/Armed American Radio. And we are back up on Rumble for you today as well, rumble.com. And you can find us there at Armed American Radio. It's pretty simple to do, okay? Make sure to visit all of our great partners, and anytime you get an access to one of them, and armedamericanradio.com, you click on the link, it's highly likely that the promo code is AAR, okay? So take advantage of all of that and support them all. Greg, I'll let you do your thing, and we've got the group here, and we'll get going. And I do want to point out, Ryan Petty will be on camera with us today during the roundtable in super glossy high definition with us. Greg, take it away, man.
Yeah, sure. Other places to watch the show are going to be YouTube. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. You can head over to X and watch us at AAR Mark. You can head on over to armedamericanradio.org or .com. Hit that menu icon, then select your watch live or listen live option. And lastly, if you'd like to join our live chat, all you have to do is download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
And that will do it. Let's start. Let's introduce Ryan Petty, trophy husband, because I can see him on the screen here, and so can you. Ryan Petty, welcome in, my friend. Great to be here with you. Great to see you on the radio show.
It's great to be here with you, Mark. I don't like wearing this shirt, but my wife told me to go put it on. So
you're going to be on camera tonight. I want you to wear the trophy husband shirt. It works for us. Welcome in, Ryan. It's great to have you here, and it's great to be able to see you on camera. You and I just spent some time together in Arizona. We'll probably get a chance to talk a little bit about that. Brad Premo, former law enforcement, combat veteran. We have a lot to cover with you today, brother. We're going to get some military analysis from you today. Brad, welcome in, my brother. It's great to be here with you today.
Thanks for having me, Mark. How are you doing?
I'm doing woundaba, man. It's going to be more fun when we get this hour cranking. And, of course, that's Brad Premo. We'll bring his mug up here. And Justin Moon, CEO of Kahr Arms. Of course, we are in the Kahr Firearms Group studios. Justin, I've got a great picture of you leaning against a wall of guns in the Tommy gun shop, and it's just beautiful to see. If you want to watch us, you can open up another browser window and turn us on at youtube.com, Armed American Radio, or X, and watch us. And we got a great pic of you up there that I believe I took at one of the Rod of Iron festivals. Justin Moon, CEO of Kahr Arms. Welcome in, brother. You ready? Let's get started.
I'm ready, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Well, let's start with you because, well, you're the last one in, and I just talked to you and introduced you. We just had what is no doubt a terrorist attack in Austin, Texas, Justin, and the perp, who is dead, was wearing a shirt that said, "Product of Allah." I would really like your thoughts on this. How long is it going to take us to figure this out?
Well, I think with the war happening in Iran, we're going to have a lot more attacks like that in our country. So, armed citizens need to, be on alert, and they need to look out for potential, basically combatants. We are at war right now, which is unfortunate since we were hoping that we could avoid another Middle Eastern conflict. But it is what it is.
Yeah, and this one here is likely could really has the potential, ladies and gentlemen, to stop future conflicts, Iran being the state sponsor of terror that they were. Brad Premo, your military expertise, when you watched this unfold, as it unfolded, first off, I'm going to guess that you guessed this was likely going to happen. Are you surprised by any of this? Talk to us about the military aspect of this, what we're seeing, and what it means for the future, not just of Iran and the good, hardworking Iranian people that just want to be free. We've decapitated their leadership, 40 strong, probably more. Well, what does all this mean? Put this together for us with your background.
This is a long time coming.
I mean, there's a lot of different reasons that we can talk about, but at the end of the day, Iran has owed us some blood, in my opinion, going all the way back to they took hostages, they bombed our Marines in Lebanon, killed like 240 of them. They have been the number one exporter of terrorism throughout the world. Essentially, this has been a thorn in our side for the better part of 50 years. And, I don't know if they thought that we wouldn't do this. And frankly, until getting this president in office, we haven't done anything. The reason, some of the reasons why we encountered so many difficulties in Iraq directly related to Iranian interference, Iranian weapons being flooded into the theater. There's plenty of American soldiers that are no longer with their families or have been permanently maimed and disabled because of Iranian weapons that were given to Shia militia in Iraq. So, just from a personal standpoint, I'm happy happy is not the word. I am satisfied to see that these people are, some of them, the ones who are responsible for that are getting exactly what they deserve. And, the Ayatollah, finally getting his come to Jesus moment is a good thing for all of us. What we're seeing is American hard power. And this is not something that the world has seen probably in any of our lifetimes when you think about it. I mean, Vietnam maybe, but even then, we have been forced by cowardly politicians and leftists to always fight with one arm tied behind our backs. You talk to any veteran of any conflict that we've had, since World War II, Korea, we were one hand behind our backs, and the world's not used to seeing that. I think the world got comfortable thinking that somehow that they were our equals. And I got news for the rest of the world. You are not our equals. There's nobody that can stand with us. And we pretended all this time that everybody's the same and everybody's equal and that, we're no more powerful than anybody else, but that's not the truth. And we're showing the world right now between, we black bag Maduro in an hour?
Yeah, pretty much.
And nobody is untouchable for us. If we want you, we're going to get you. And so the world needs to get used to this, at least as long as we have Donald Trump in office and hopefully whoever follows him, that this is American hard power, and we're going to start using. We spend $1 trillion a year on our military, and by God, we're going to use it, and we're going to use it to advance what interests us and our allies, our actual allies.
Let's put that number in perspective, ladies and gentlemen, with zeros, okay? $1 trillion is 1,000 billion, all right? Don't forget that. Brad, where did you do your tours?
I did both of them in Iraq. And one just north of Baghdad, the other ones were in western Iraq.
And you were fighting the Iranians, essentially, were you not?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the main threats that we had to deal with were, of course, you have to worry about what they call explosively formed projectiles, and the more sophisticated. And what that is that it is a form of anti-vehicle mine that uses an explosion to form. It basically shapes a copper plate into a dart that's superheated that will cut through almost any type of armor. They're extremely dangerous to even armored vehicles. The particular Iranian versions that were being seen were actually also triggered by infrared. So they were sophisticated weapons that you would expect out of a near peer enemy, not necessarily your typical jihadis that were going to Iraq to die for Allah. These are the type of weapons that were actually capable of knocking out, our heavy armor, Abrams tanks, Bradley fighting vehicles. They would demolish a Stryker vehicle. They would, of course, completely obliterate a Humvee. So they were a very formidable problem, but then you got to think about just the more simple things like RPGs that were everywhere, cruise serve machine guns that were everywhere, and a lot of those things were coming from Iran.
Yeah, this is personal for you, right?
In a lot of ways, it is. Yeah. There is no way to quantify how difficult and how many more problems we had in Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, they interfered in Afghanistan as well. I mean, But this is an enemy. The true enemy of the United States for the last 50 years has been, in the Middle East especially, has been Iran. And let's not forget, they are best buddies with the Chinese and the Russians.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like that triumvirate of evil, that, you know, I hate saying George Bush, but, you know, the axis of evil.
Mm-hmm.
They're one of them. You know.
Yeah. Well, let me take us to the break with this, Brad. It's important to point out Putin was mourning Khamenei today, mourning him in statements, public statements. When we come back, we've got the crew with us. We'll go back to Ryan Petty and then back to Justin. Don't go away. A lot to cover in the next 3 segments. All right, Ryan, we got your mic up and your camera up during the break for everybody. You're looking good, buddy. You're looking good, man. I'm digging the trophy wife because I know your wife. And so to me, or trophy husband. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can see why she wants you wearing that, man. I don't know if you can hear us. Ryan, can you hear us, or did we get you out of pot?
Yeah, of course she's off. He probably can't hear you.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, Greg, we heard you. We'll pull them down. Guys, we'll be back right after the break. We've got 3 segments left remaining, and hang tight with us, okay? I see Ryan's dogs walking in there. Hopefully we hear from them during the live broadcast. That will be fun.
The following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, guys, that's just good advice, okay? Particularly if you live behind the blue wall, it's very important that you join the National Rifle Association. Yeah, do that. Please, we need your assistance over there. nra.org/AAR. Take advantage of the discounts that we offer over there. Please, nra.org/AAR. Yeah, I know, Trump's in office. You might think your guns are safe. Take a look at what's happening behind the blue wall, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming Supreme Court cases that they're going to hear in conference. Well, not going to hear. They're deciding tomorrow whether or not to take. There are 4 cases up. Not to mention, as soon as they're done with the conference, the Hamani case, which is hearing oral arguments. That's the weed case. And Hamani is arguably a bad guy, but nonetheless, they're going to hear the case tomorrow. And hopefully they may take, it would be great if they took all 4 cases, wouldn't it? Yeah, don't hold your breath on that, but we desperately need them to get an assault weapons ban case. And you know what, guys? By joining the NRA, you just make your voice that much more heard and that much more powerful. NRA.org/AAR. Welcome back to the Kahr Firearms Group studios with me, Mark Walters on the CZ mic here, filling your prescription for freedom at the Patriot Mobile Command Center, patriotmobile.com/AAR. Get a phone with a company that really supports your gun rights. Ryan Petty, let's go to you right now. Welcome in and welcome on screen. You're on the split screen with me right now. You heard the previous conversation. I'd like to get some of your thoughts on what's going on.
Listen, as Brad was talking, I chills up and down my spine.
Agreed.
You know, as he talked about the personal things he saw over in Iraq, and the fact that, quite frankly, I think most of us realized we had defeated the Iraqi army very quickly. What we hadn't done was defeated the Iranian terrorist influence in Iraq and what they were doing to our troops over there. It's very, very personal. I'll bring it back to America, to our shores here, though, and what President Trump is doing in the last, let's say, 2-3 weeks is nothing short of amazing, and a complete and total shift in American foreign policy. First of all, he topples Maduro in a matter of minutes, right? Brings down that regime in Venezuela. We take out one of the top cartel leader in Mexico. And now we topple the Iranian regime. Now, I know there's some work still to be done in regards to all of those things, but those are all connected and related. And they're all connected and related in that these are folks that have that are enemies of the United States, enemies of our country and our people. These are people that have a common bond that use funds from illicit and legitimate businesses to fund attacks on Americans, right? Whether it be the drug trade, whether it be attacking our soldiers abroad, whether it be attacking American interests. He has weakened these folks, and I've got to believe that this is all connected to President Trump understanding the bigger threat, the threat that looms for America over the next century, which is China. Mm-hmm. And so getting these problems dealt with now,
oil baby,
is going to allow us to deal with China on a level playing field and not have to fight these battles later on. I couldn't be more grateful to God above for President Trump being our president right now and getting us through this perilous time. We're going to look back on this and realize how close we were to becoming, to having our freedoms taken from us by, these evil people that still exist in the world. The Soviet Union fell, but Marxism didn't go away. It just changed forms. And we still have to recognize it for the evil that it is.
Well said. Nobody on this panel knows more about that than Justin Moon and his family. Justin, why do you believe because it was remarkable to me. I responded to a tweet earlier today at X, formerly known as Twitter, a post, and the hatred coming at me from the left, all sympathizing, these are Americans, all sympathizing with the Iranian government, ignoring the fact, Justin, that Millions of Iranians are cheering in the streets. There's videos out there you can watch when the compound housing the head of that snake was pummeled. The cheering that went up, the laughter that went up. You could hear the high fives being slapped. What is it about the commies, in particular the commies in our country, that want to cheer on this regime? Why do they not understand what this does for geopolitics, as Ryan just pointed out? This takes oil away from China, both in Venezuela and Iran. And we'll go to Cuba in just a second because it's part of this conversation. They're next. But good heavens, why, Justin? What is it about the commies?
Well, I agree that, China is our, rival, which we really have to contest and defeat. The CCP needs to be defeated. I think, we have a tendency in our country to celebrate a little bit prematurely. I mean, we all cheered when Baghdad fell and when our troops walked into, Baghdad, took over Iraq. But we got to remember, after we won that war, we had 20 years of hell. And then we basically had to withdraw our troops and ended up losing that war. We ended up losing Afghanistan in a similar manner. And, of course, everybody remembers, our loss in Vietnam. So I would not celebrate this war in Iran when it's just 2 days old. I mean, I don't see evidence of the regime collapsing at this point. If it does, I will celebrate and be happy, but I don't think we're out of the woods by any means. So I think we should be a little bit more sober and realistic.
I don't disagree. This is going to be up to the Iranian people now, and I think what Trump has done is laid bare the opportunity for the Iranian people to take back their country. Let me shift to Cuba while we're on this, and I'll start with you. Clearly, the Cuban government at this point, without Venezuelan oil, with a blockade on any oil coming in or out right now, starving them out. Do you see Cuba falling soon without military action? That's what I think is likely going to happen. I don't think the regime
Well, I think,
survives.
there's a big difference between Iran and Cuba and Venezuela. This is our hemisphere, so we can dominate this hemisphere. And, there's no way foreign powers, whether it be Russia or China, can interfere with what we're doing here. Iran is a different story. It's very dangerous there, and our policy there is extremely high risk, and there's a great possibility, a great probability, I would say, for disaster.
It's there.
So
it's
I'm
only
very
2 days
sober
old.
right now.
Well, you should be.
And what now in the streets are not Iranians trying to topple their government. They're supporters of Khamenei out in the streets saying death to America by the millions. So,
which they've been saying for decades since the fall of the Shah of Iran. When we come back from the break, we're going to continue the conversation with the group. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast continues. I told you, buckle in. We've got 2 more segments to go. We're going to talk a little bit about what happened in Austin, Texas, and why, and kind of an offshoot of where we're going right now, because it is all tied together. I'll be back with the group. Justin Moon, CEO of Kahr Arms; Brad Premo, former law enforcement officer, combat vet, and founder of Lead Slingers Whiskey; and, of course, Ryan Petty, right after the break. back on stage.
This segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by Blackout Coffee. Visit them at blackoutcoffee.com/AAR. Grab that discount and free shipping. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, welcome back indeed. I could not have survived my day today, guys, if it were not for Blackout Coffee. And I mean that literally. I got very little sleep last night. Fell asleep early, slept hard for just a couple hours, got up about 1:30 in the morning, had to take my sister to the airport at 6:45, and it was Blackout Coffee that kept me going because I never did go back to sleep, and here we are. So blackoutcoffee.com. It works, ladies and gentlemen. They do have some heavier caffeinated stuff over there, too, up on their website, but I ordered 2 more bags to come because, well, I've drank so much of it over the last few days. It's blackoutcoffee.com/AAR, blackoutcoffee.com/AAR. And if you're watching on your screens, you can hit that QR code up in the top right, and it'll pop right up on your phone or your device. So please take advantage of that. And when you do that, you not only support Blackout Coffee, but you support Armed American Radio, and you support every organization that they donate to on your behalf. You can find blackoutcoffee.com at blackoutcoffee.com/AAR and all of our other great partners, including Bud's Gun Shop. Got the cool Bud's Gun Shop shirt on right now. Bud'sGunShop.com, our exclusive online retailer. They have everything you need, and you want everything they have. That much I can promise you. Don't forget Pot of Gold Auctions, POGauctions.com. And we'll be doing some auctions for Walk the Talk America to benefit suicide prevention work from that great organization. Welcome back to the program. Guys, we've got Ryan Petty on the screen with us. Always fun to have Ryan on the show as well and to be able to watch him up here. So I hope you're enjoying the video production, Ryan. Welcome back in. Before I go to you, Ryan, let me go to Brad Premo. Brad, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Justin. Obviously, the country's been infiltrated by a bunch of haters and a bunch of commies, and we've seen that. You can see it all over social media. Why do you suppose those organizations and the people who fund it would not want to see the Iranian regime toppled? Why? For what purpose? And then the follow-up to that is, what do you think is going to happen in Cuba? So I'll tie those both together for you. Go for it.
I mean, the short answer is I believe the people that you're referring to have been completely overtaken and subverted by evil. There's just no other way to look at it. Marxism is an ethos that's straight from the pit of hell, and the people who subscribe to it and people who are leftists. I mean, look, it's very clear, and I hope this doesn't sound silly to people, but frankly, we see the battle between good and evil play out every day in all facets of our society and everywhere. And sometimes it's writ large when you have a regime like, the Iranian regime, which is no doubt, an evil presence in this world. And so when you attack at the heart of evil in this world, all their minions are going to react to it. That's the bottom line. In some way, all these people are plugged into that evil, and they have it in their hearts, and they feel threatened themselves because their big bad brother over there in Tehran is getting attacked. And so it's no surprise to me that these people are having this reaction. If you look at it, these same people, much more lighthearted topic, but these same people, that are against our gold medal winning hockey team.
Yeah,
they're mad. They're mad about taking out Maduro. They're upset when we seal the border against narco traffickers and human trafficking. Because we start talking about human trafficking like you're protecting women, and these people hate that fact because I fully believe that there's a lot of evil in this world directed solely at women, and they're a huge target of that. And so, anytime you see these people react, look at the pressure point that we're touching, and it all makes sense. We are hitting their pressure points because these people, no matter what comes out of their mouth, their actions say that they support evil. They've given themselves over to that mindset, and that's why they react the way they do.
Yeah,
Cuba.
Does Cuba survive
Go
this?
ahead.
Go ahead. Does Cuba survive this?
No. Cuba's about to become It's going to be great, man. Like, give it another 10 or 15 years, and we're going to be having casinos and beaches down in Cuba again. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, you know what? That's high time for that, because I would love to go to the island and smoke a great cigar. I just would love to do that, and I'm not getting any younger.
A Cuban sandwich.
Right? Well, I get those in Tampa all the time, but nonetheless,
authentic Cuban sandwich.
Right? I mean, when American money flows in there, I see Ryan Petty shaking his head. Ryan, you don't think Cuba survives this either, do you?
No, it's going to fall everywhere. The last bastion will be China, and we'll see what China does, what their next move is. Of course, again, as we've talked about before, China, they think in terms of centuries, right? They have a very long-term view, and we'll see what their next move is. But if we can systematically dismantle, this is what I believe President Trump is doing, systematically dismantling these networks that have supported each other, whether it's oil from Venezuela, the drug cartels, funding violence in America and drugs and killing Americans, to the influence operations going on. Just this week, Mark, the protests were starting and were funded against this action against Iran before President Trump announced it. These people had signs printed and they were ready to go. So these are all CCP influence operations going on around. And I just want to, applaud what Brad said just a moment ago. When the Soviet Union fell in '89, we all collectively, I still remember this. I was old enough to remember when when the wall came down and Soviet Union crumbled. We all breathed a collective sigh of relief. And for a moment, I think quite naively, and this to Justin's point a moment ago, quite naively thought evil in the world has been conquered. It's a new dawn, a new age. And nothing could have been further from the truth, because there are still evil people around the world that want to control how you and I live, what you and I think, what you and I can do. There are two visions for the world going forward. One is freedom and liberty, and the other is totalitarianism, as exemplified by the Marxists around the world. And President Trump is dismantling it, and I applaud him for that action.
Yeah, Justin, let me take this over to you. There's a method to my madness with the questioning about, because we're going to tie this to guns through actions of Democrats in blue states, because this all ties together, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to hold my hand and walk with me here as we go through this. There's a reason for that line of questioning. And Justin, as you well know, the Marxist movement in America is alive and well. That's why we're talking about this right now, because we're seeing their response, and they are supporting the Marxist regimes around the world. And a lot of it is due to Trump hatred. These people are also a well-funded voting bloc, which is how we get there, and by and large, all vote Democrat. So what I'm going to do, Justin, is first off ask you if you agree with that statement. The vast majority of the Marxists in this country that vote are voting for the Democrat Party, are they not?
I agree with you that Marxists have taken over the Democratic Party. My fear is that we need Trump to win the midterms.
Here we go.
I'm afraid that this Iran war could turn out to be a big lemon, and we'll take a big political hit.
And that's exactly, I know we're going to get ready to take a break here in a second, and you just hit the nail on the head. It's like Justin is in my brain. That's exactly where I'm going with this, is to the midterms. But I'm going to take a little bit of a sidetrack here, and I'm going to go through Chicago, Illinois. Guys, we're talking about the Democrat Party supporting Marxism. They are energized. We saw what they were able to pull off in Virginia. We saw what happened in the special election in Texas. And when it comes to Donald Trump hatred, and they are as well-funded as they are, ladies and gentlemen, you had just heard him say, you just heard Justin say, the danger that this poses in the midterms. And when we come back from the break, I'm going to take you to a piece from our good friend AAR Hawkins, who is currently traveling, hopefully safely right now. And I want you to read, I'm going to read this headline to you, and it all ties together, particularly if you live behind the blue wall in one of particularly 12 states in this country. Illinois is notorious. Illinois SWAT team issues shelter-in-place order due to man with 38 rounds of ammo and no FOID card. You will not believe this story. This is the party that the Marxists vote for in this country. This telegraphs what they want for you and their mindset in this country. We'll be back and get commentary. We'll start with Brad and then go around the horn one more time right after the break. Mike's live.
This segment is brought to you by Attorneys on Retainer. Get the only self-defense program for gun owners backed by a real law firm, the Attorneys for Freedom. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back.
There it is, guys. There's my card. I talk about it every show, every hour after this rejoin. If you carry a gun, have an attorney in your pocket. Don't be stupid. If something bad happens, it's going to unfold in an instant. Nobody's going to come to your defense. You will. And it will be investigated. You're going to want an attorney. And if you don't have one, after the fact, you're going to pay out the wazoo. Why would you do that when you can have a self-defense attorney? That's all they practice is self-defense law to keep you safe and out of jail for simply defending yourself, your family, your community, whatever it may be. And it's real simple. It's $37 a month. Attorneysonretainer.us/AAR. Attorneysonretainer.us/AAR. You can find them and all of our great partners, including Crossbreed Holsters, Blackout Coffee, Bud's Gun Shop, POG Auctions. We've got more coming. All of them. Kahr Arms, CZ, patriotmobile.com/AAR. All of them include some great apparel over at Tyrannics. You can see that on the website. Check them all out. There's a really strong probability that the promo code, when offered, is AAR. And you get some cool stuff over there and some great discounts. Make sure to visit all of our great sponsors and partners at armedamericanradio.com and .org. We got them covered for you. All right, Brad Premo, let me bring you in here. Welcome back to the program, brother. I couldn't agree more with you on your statements on Cuba, by the way. I think once American dollars begin flowing over there, Brad, it's just game over. You know, and it's going to be great for Cuba. It's going to be great for the United States. And from a personal standpoint, I would love to visit the island. I hope I'm around to be able to do that at some point in time. Brad, let me start with you on this. I read this. I'm trying to tie this together because it does all tie together. Illinois SWAT team issues shelter-in-place order due to man with 38 rounds of ammo and no FOID card. I want you to listen to this carefully, guys. Illinois law enforcement personnel, including a SWAT team, issued a shelter-in-place order Thursday as they entered the residence of a man who allegedly, get this, guys, get this, allegedly possessed 38 rounds of ammo without a firearms owner identification card. You've got to be kidding me. No, I'm not kidding you. The Lake and McHenry County scanner reported that the 38 rounds were a combination of long gun and handgun ammo. Ooh. I fired 5 times that amount with my sister at the range yesterday. You've got to be kidding me. And here's what the county scanner put out on an X post. Just in, a shelter-in-place order was issued for residents in a subdivision in Lake in the Hills, but has since been lifted as law enforcement and SWAT responded to an incident Thursday morning. An incident, Brad? Holy crap, 38 rounds of ammo and no FOID card. And by the way, that's what they want for you in Virginia. Just keep that in mind. Brad, go ahead.
I mean, my first thought is, like, how many of us have been out there, like, maybe cleaning out a junk drawer or something like that, and you, like, find a box of ammo you know you had? You know, it's like 50
Countless
rounds in there. It's like, yeah, you know, it's like a little bit of a little slice of Christmas, you know, finding a box of ammo like that. It's great. No firearms or ID card. Like that's going to protect anybody from those dangerous 38 rounds of ammo that were found. Like, it doesn't make any sense. You know, this is not rational thinking. It's not rational behavior by anybody. You know, it reminds me, there was a story in the UK a few years ago where somebody found or saw a single round of 22 long rifle ammunition on the ground outside of a shop, and like the police, like, you know, cordoned off an area while they came in and collected that one round of ammunition like it was, you know, like a dangerous explosive or something. I don't get it. Like, I'd like to think that most people kind of see something like that and roll their eyes.
Well,
I'm sure there's, I'm sure like there's some, you know, some low test men and purple haired women out there that probably are clutching their pearls over that. But yeah, and you're right. It's what they want for Virginia. Honestly, it's what they want for the whole country. You know, like, I think the smart play, or what we think is going to happen is, you know, if they can't attack our guns, they're going to attack the ammunition or ability to get it.
Yeah,
and
well,
so, you know,
get this.
This is a warning.
Yeah, it is, you know, but there's so many people brainwashed because of the media and the anti-gun push in places like Chicago and other states, New York, California, the rest of them, all anywhere behind the blue wall. Virginia's not falling for it because it's a fresh, new Democrat look. Virginians know better. However, take a listen to this. The SWAT team, together with other members of law enforcement, entered the home of 20-year-old Joel Fernandez. Thereafter, Fernandez was taken into custody, Ryan Petty, and charged with 4 counts of possessing ammunition without a valid FOID card, a Class A misdemeanor, my brother. I mean, keep shaking your head, man. Now, guys, I want to tie that with this, because while Chicago was messing with this, I told you in the last hour of the program when I was talking with John Lott that the murder count and shooting count for the weekend would go up. As of 9 p.m., we have an update. 6 killed, 15 wounded. That's up 2 killed and 1 more wounded since 8 a.m. this morning. And guys, at midnight, it's going to climb again. Ryan Petty, when you hear nonsense like this, I just want to know what goes through your mind.
Well, nothing I can say on air, Mark, quite frankly.
Thank you for that, but I feel your pain, yes. I feel your pain. I feel your pain, Ryan. I feel your pain.
You know, this happens every single time. Look, Democrats are not focused on solving the problem because they need the problem to continue to control power in these cities. They need these cities to be violent. They need crime to be out of control, and they need to blame it on law-abiding gun owners so that they can win the votes of the sheep that live in the cities that don't want to think for themselves and understand that really what needs to happen here is to get tough on crime. Look at the difference between Chicago and what's happened in Washington, D.C., because President Trump deployed the National Guard and allowed police to do policing in Washington, D.C. Look at the difference
and Memphis
between those two cities.
Which never gets any airplay because what does it do? It bolsters what he did in D.C., and the media doesn't want to cover it. Justin, I got to go to you on this one here, okay? I mean, I don't know about you, but if I lived in Chicago, I certainly would be thrilled that 38 rounds of ammo were taken off the streets. Whew. Good heavens.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of brainwashed zombies out there who actually believe that.
Well, that's exactly what it is. It's true. You know, they've been hammered with this mindset for so long that I can promise you there were neighbors talking about this, going not in these terms, Justin. Justin, all of you in the group, but Justin specifically to you for the question. As there were neighbors going, man, did you hear about that? That Fernandez guy down the road, they just busted him with a whole bunch of ammo, didn't have a FOID card. Whew. There are neighbors that feel that much safer as a result of that, Justin, don't they? 30 seconds. It is complete brainwashing.
There are people who are extremely anti-gun. I mean, you know, that kind of sentiment, if you come from abroad, is not uncommon.
I'm telling you what, guys. Justin Moon, CEO, Kahr Arms, we love you. Fan favorite for a reason, brother. Thank you for being here. Great insight from you today, by the way. As always, that's Justin Moon, ladies and gentlemen, the CEO of the Kahr Firearms Group. Make sure to check them out at kahrfirearms.com. It's Kahr, just K-A-H-R. Just go there. I carry the X9 with me every day. Had it on the range on Saturday for a couple hours. Absolutely phenomenal firearm. If you've never squeezed the trigger on a car, you are missing out. Justin's got it going on over there. Brad Premo, CEO of Lead Slingers, former law enforcement and combat vet. Thank you for being here, brother. We appreciate your insight, wit, and wisdom every single day. And Ryan Petty, of course, on camera with us today. I love you, man. You know I'm going to call you right after the show ends. You're looking good there, trophy husband. Armed American Radio is going to get up and do it again tomorrow. Enjoy your day. Stay safe. See you on the radio, guys.
You just filled your prescription for freedom on Armed American Radio with Mark Walters, the loudest voice in America fighting for gun rights.
Yeah, Ryan and I are bopping our heads to the outro music there. You got to love it. Ryan, it was great seeing you on camera today. Thanks for sticking with us and doing that. It was beautiful, and it looked great. And I appreciate your knowledge and skills when it comes to tech stuff that made what is really easy to do.
Showing us how it's done.
Easy. You're showing us how it's done. Greg just said showing us how it's done. So we appreciate it. I can't hear him. I guess Greg's got him out of queue.
Yeah, because there's spots running on the air and stuff. We're off the air.
We are off the air. Can't remember that. Ryan can hear us. But Ryan, I'll give you a call in just a second. Thank you for being on camera with us. We appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, you know we're going to get up and do it again tomorrow because they don't want us to. Hope you enjoyed the video production of the show today. If you're watching us still, thanks for doing that. Please make sure to subscribe to the Armed American Radio podcast on your favorite podcast platform. And guys, we're building a following over at YouTube a lot quicker than we thought we would be able to. and we really need your help. If you have not subscribed to us on YouTube, please do so. It's youtube.com/Armed American Radio. It's real easy to do. You can also join us over on Rumble. We were back up on Rumble today. God bless that for finally getting fixed up. You can follow us on Facebook. Please do. 80,000+ of you do that. We appreciate it. And make sure to follow us over on Twitter or X at AAR Mark, at AAR Mark, okay? Visit all of our great partners. Pick up some Blackout Coffee. Buy something from all of them. They are the real deal. We appreciate it. Stay safe tonight. Remember, carry on, carry often, carry absolutely everywhere. Never, ever, ever leave your cave without your club. No self-respecting caveman would ever do that, and a self-respecting caveman would have had a caveman attorney from attorneysonretainer.us had they been there. Stay safe. Enjoy your day. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific.